time for another round of Brandy. Candid conversations over cocktails about all things brand with your hosts, Reilly Newman and Scott Saunders, the brand developers behind Motif Brands.
Welcome back to another round of Brandy. Today's episode is a Brandy shot. And
short take.
Yeah, we're kind of covering something that we've mentioned before on other episodes. I just don't think we've ever have specifically focused on that, and that is private labels and sub-brands that you do see a lot now in the marketplace with anything from retailers to grocers who are actually starting to kind of private label a lot of.
Or another term is white label. A lot of people in branding, marketing also hear the term white label, right? And it's that idea that like you're putting your brand's name on something, you're buying it at wholesale, and able to slap your own, what's in the jar, what's in the box. It's from someone else, but you're slapping your brand on it and kind of passing it on.
Well, and the crazy thing about this is that as much as people mock the Kirkland brand, Kirkland is kind of the OG
for Costco
of doing this. Where Costco, they have all these relationships with massive brands who want to sell in Costco, and Costco will usually kind of pre-flight the product in their warehouses, and then if it is successful and there's good traction on it, sometimes they'll approach those brands and go, hey, let's make this into a Kirkland product that we can sell in here. And sometimes they do mention the name because there's rumors of what some of the Kirkland products are. Like the Kirkland vodka is actually Grey Goose, and the Kirkland
is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the Kirkland coffee is actually Starbucks. And so there's all of these. You can look it up online. It's really fun to look at
all the rabbit holes you like to go
Costco.
down. Oh my goodness.
And so, you've seen this with Costco. That is kind of the OG of doing this. And then, on a different example, we have Trader Joe's, but totally different shopping experiences. And Trader Joe's does an awesome job they kind of have fun with it, where it's all, TJ products, but then they introduce these kind of abstract names that relate to maybe the category of the food or the, country of origin.
Like it might be a Mexican, enchilada sauce or something, but they might call it, Trader Jose, rather than Trader Joe's or whatever. There's a little twist to it, but Trader Joe's is a different beast, because I think one of the things that we got to talking about this was that what kind of rebooted the conversation was in the news.
Aldi,
yeah, they're the ones that are in a dispute right now. I believe still a lawsuit, right? Because their house brand of, like, say, cookies, right? Their sandwich cookies, the packaging looked very, very close to Nabisco's Oreo cookies packaging and Chips Ahoy. And so their products on the shelf were starting to kind of cross a gray area of the look and feel of very popular brands. And the lawsuit was brought up against, saying, look, you are creating consumer confusion and all these other things. And so they recently repackaged and redesigned all of their family of products across all different, across the shelves, with more of a unified look, with the brand, different colors and everything. But the design, the kind of the masthead, so to speak, of the packaging all has their logo, and it's kind of identified. And they've kind of created this unified set of the things. And that's a good thing to do. I mean, a lot of it, you go to like Walmart, their house brand, I think, is Great Value. If you're, hitting the grocery stores with like Vaughn's or Albertsons, Signature or Organics is another one of their house brands. White labeling is huge. We've got some clients that we've done some white label projects for that own a retail store, and they're buying up product, but they also want to kind of put their own product on the same shelf, but they're not in the business necessarily of manufacturing that product. So they work out a deal with but then they need to come up with a brand name and a label design, everything that will give it shelf appeal to maybe stand out with some of the other competitors, but it's all within the same store.
Yeah. Aldi is definitely a price-sensitive brand, so they're leaning into affordability. So their mark of Aldi represents that to their shoppers. That's why someone goes to Aldi. So them putting that on the product is then putting it in that kind of like what Scott was saying with Signature or Walmart's Great Value. And all of them do have these different brands that have different themes that kind of are targeting different audiences, like Signature versus Organics. Those are totally different audiences shopping that. But so it's interesting that Aldi is just going full-fledged into this one type of audience, and they're putting their Aldi mark on them all.
Yeah.
There's a quote from a CNN business article, and it says, national chains are investing heavily in their private labels as spending from consumers on store brands hit a record-breaking $271 billion, that's with a B, billion, in 2024, outpacing the growth of national brands. So you've seen this growth over time where even Target has been very successful at leaning into these themes that are holiday brands or certain interior design brands or pet food brands, and they hit the category and they capture a little theme, and then they just capitalize on that. And I think Target's up to like 60 private labels now, or 60 sub-brands that they've created. And it's brilliant, and it works so well. And Whole Foods Market has their homegrown little brands they have. Products has soared 50% since 2019. Kroger recently said it plans to add 900 more products to its private label, which...
It's a lot.
So these companies, obviously, they're reading the tea leaves and the revenue, and it's coming in where this is more profitable. It hits on two huge cornerstones of purchase decisions where these products can hit a better price point because you're really going direct to consumer. They're cutting out the middleman, so it's a little better on price, but also they're able to nail down a specific audience, like how Organics brand is obviously for organics. It's a healthier option. Okay, you pay a little premium for it, but it's a specific audience. Or even like Target's example, where they hit everything from the pet owner to the beauty lines to Up and Up to
because Up and Up is a huge
Yeah.
Also, it was like 2 or 3 years ago when they got into clothing and they brought out Goodfellows, which is the house brand for Target. And I've picked up a couple things here and there from the Goodfellow line. They're not bad. They're pretty good,
Yeah, and I think that just the power of it is showing that you've had these huge companies, and they're able to then hone in on different purchasing. And we talked about it before of the consumer having different purchasing modes. There's different themes that when they're shopping for health or beauty products, they're in a different state of mind than when they're shopping for pet food. Like you have to recognize that. And so then applying that to your business and going, when I do have my products out, how am I actually positioning them so that I'm relating more to the audience and not just trying to do this broad stroke of sales and marketing. Yeah. And that's what, again, brand comes down to that. That's what it's about, is being empathetic and getting in the shoes of your buyer.
Yeah. The Aldi, everything's kind of looking the same. It's like they had different colors, but it was still and that's good, because if you're down the aisle and you're like, oh, I want the house brand or one of the, white, it's like whether you're in the cookie aisle, cracker aisle, chip aisle, or pasta sauce, whatever. It's like having that signifying look of the label, if that's a good option. And a lot of times the house brands are the more cheaper options. I go to get a can of beans, at Albertsons, and there's going to be all these different brands of black beans, but then there's going to be that signature brand of house beans. Yeah. And chances are they're going to be the cheapest price. So black beans are black beans. I'm going to pick up a can of that. But what's interesting, we in the conversation came up, oh, well, look at Trader Joe's though. They've got such variety, they diversify. Another packaging looks the same, right? But it's different with Trader Joe's because they're not competing with anything. It's not like they have taco shells and hard, crispy taco shells, and there's 4 other brands that are competing on the shelf of Trader Joe's. There's one box of crispy taco shells, and it's a Trader Joe's brand. So the box can look as different and diverse as it wants, and that's really what they want when you come into Trader Joe's and you're going down the aisle and looking at all the products on the shelves. If they all had the same look, it would get very bland.
Yeah, you see this in other worlds too, like wine and stuff, where you can have a wine and then you can tell the story of that wine in many different ways, depending on the label, depending on the story behind it, and what you're wanting to bring out for the consumer. Because if they've done plenty of studies that are blind taste tests, where you tell someone, oh, this is this type of wine or this, and the brain will actually start making up and agreeing with that story or that folklore where it's actually going, oh yeah, this does taste like if I gave you a robust coffee and then I'm like, yeah, this one's very dark, it's very rich, and you'll be like, oh wow, it is, it's very it's got cocoa notes and all these whatever, and so it's like the almost power of suggestion. So then with these sub brands, these private labels, you're able to suggest something of going, oh, this is a healthier option. This is that. And that's what Target did with, I think that's called Pantry or something, is there. All these sub brands are specifically positioned as certain ways in the market to appeal to certain appetites and certain, almost like those perceptions that someone's wanting to buy. And I just feel like there's a lot of power in that. And I feel like what Aldi's doing by kind of doing this blanket approach to their products aligns more with what we see in the Up and Up or Amazon Basics with their line, and some of these other ones that have been very specific to more lower cost and more accessible pricing. That's totally fine, but I just feel like it's a little more of a Kirkland approach. But even that, it's not like Costco has Costco branded things. That's what's interesting about Costco, is that Costco, there's still the mothership, and then inside you have Kirkland.
And there's not everything. I mean, you go look at, like obviously you go into shopping go to Costco for a TV, you're going to have Sony, Samsung, Philips, all these. You're not going to have Kirkland. I'm going to pick up a 4K, 62-inch LG Kirkland brand TV. I mean,
I would love that.
Wouldn't that be hilarious? But so, I mean, it's very selective. It's things that they can, whether it's alcohol, whether it's crackers, whether it's jeans, right? Clothing, Kirkland pants.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Like it is a
that
thing.
Is a thing. That exists.
Clothes shopping in Costco. It is a thing. Anyway.
Okay, so these are all products, and as we're kind of wrapping up, because this is just a shot, I would say this isn't just limited to products. So even with services, this is why you do have productized services. You do have things where you can package and frame your service, although it's intangible. You can frame it certain ways, and that's through visual signaling, but also with messaging and the words you choose to say and how you're actually positioning a service and what kind of issues or problems you're addressing, or even like symptoms that the customer is having.
Yeah.
So
bundling some services into packages, quote unquote, packages that you can name, that you can each package of services might contribute to different users. I almost classic examples, like when you go through the car wash, like a self-serve car wash, and there's like, okay, do you want there's like 4 or 5 different options, and the top one, the most expensive, right? But that's the premium package.
Deluxe.
They throw in the deluxe, and it throws in the like the.
I don't know. It probably does the same thing.
It's all the same foam that they spray on the cars, for crying out loud. But they give them different names, right? And so, again, someone that's maybe coming through and they wash their car once a week, they drive a big old Escalade, they want it detailed out, they're going to select the premium option. Some guy's got a beat-up truck, but he's like, dude, this thing is so dusty, I need to just wash this down. They're going to go for the bottom-tier package of services, even though a lot of the packages all have the same services baked in, but it's tiered, it's bundled.
I always love that it's like starting from the top. It's like Supreme, Deluxe, and the last one's always like Loser. Like it's always
Loser,
basic. It's always like very like
the cheapo.
I want to pick that one.
Yeah.
It's but again, all those, if you're going out on a date and you need to go to the car wash, which one are you going to pick? So it's like different modes. Someone's not going to pick basic if they're taking someone out on a date. They're going to go, I should probably, I'll get the Supreme or whatever.
Well, I don't know. I know some guys that probably wouldn't even think about washing their car and be like, dude, come on, you're going to go pick up.
Those are the ones who are still single.
It's like, well, they washed their hair a couple days ago, so I think they're good.
They're good to go.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll loop back around on this in a future episode. But so next time, what I like to do is what I do when I'm shopping is that if you do see a little brand, you're like, oh, I like this. This is interesting. Never heard of it before. Look on the back. So in Target, when you see a brand that's like their Halloween one, if you look on the back, you can see that it's distributed by Target Co. Same thing with Walmart. Same thing with like even Kirkland and stuff. If you do see something, you can always check and see if it is a private label and see who it's distributed by. And that's kind of just a fun way to check. And you go, oh, wow, so it's all coming from probably the same warehouse.
But it is. It's kind of, to me, I think of it as, and I think the point of it is like, it's kind of like letting people be a peek behind the curtain to see that, there might be a brand that you use all the time. Yeah. But you had no idea it was the quote unquote house brand, right? Of the store where you're shopping. And that doesn't necessarily mean, like, just because it's the cheapest doesn't necessarily mean that it's the worst option on the shelf. It could actually be a good product, but the reason it's priced as it is because the store wants to move that because they get they get more profit off the sale of that than they do the other big name brands that they're buying and then having to try to move the product on their shelves.
And that's what's so beautiful about Kirkland is that you can go get actually a really fine product. And even though it has a Kirkland label
Trader Joe's.
it's still Trader Joe's.
Dude, I mean, I still to this day, like every time they roll something out new, it's still like, oh my gosh, these are the best chocolate covered gummy bears I've ever had. And there's tons of brands out there, but man, I'm buying those up while I can.
They do an excellent job. Yeah. But thank you for listening. Feel free to leave a review if you enjoyed this, and we'll be back with another episode next week.
Till next time, guys. Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.